Welcome to the Fantasy Football Fanalist Podcast, presented by Fantasy Data. Here's your hosts, Billy Muzio and Bradley Stalder.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Fantasy Football Fanalist Podcast. Billy and Bradley are back here on Saturday night, one night before kickoff for our Sunday Week 11. We apologize for the delay. I was not feeling well yesterday. I'm back in the house and feeling excellent, and I'm ready to talk about some football for Week 11. Bradley, how are you doing today?
Doing all right, Billy. Glad to have you at full strength and entering an important Week 11. A lot of playoff championships or playoff berths are determined in these critical weeks right now. So, playing the waiver wire and finding out who to start and sit and monitoring these situations, who's out, is even more critical, especially for fringe teams who've been hurt by injuries or buys or COVID or whatever, just unluckiness. So this is a really critical time, Week 11. Let's get into it.
So first off, we have our injury news and analysis. Let's go ahead and start off. I don't have the drop ready, so just rock and roll.
We'll kick it off with some big name running backs ruled out for this week. Alvin Kamara was ruled out on Friday, and it looks like Tony Jones is going to be activated off of injured reserve. Mark Ingram had a very usable fantasy week in Week 10, so I anticipate he'll get a good start. He'll play the majority of snaps, but Tony Jones was the back that we anticipated being the backup to Kamara. So, do you think that Ingram is going to repeat his success this week?
I think Ingram will be the lead back in this backfield, the familiarity with the offense. I mean, we saw what he did last week and touchdown saved this week, but I don't think that Tony Jones has done enough prior to the Mark Ingram signing and prior to being hurt to really be anything outside of a desperation flex play. And even then, I think that you're going to have better options elsewhere. So I would look elsewhere outside of Tony Jones. I do not think he can be trusted Week 11. If you want to roll the dice, that's on you, but I personally wouldn't.
The Seattle Seahawks are without Chris Carson, but they're also going to be without Alex Collins. Is there a Seattle running back you're interested at all in starting against the Arizona Cardinals this weekend?
No, the answer is no. There's no trust in this backfield. I mean, we don't know what, Homer's involvement is going to be. We don't know what DJ Dallas' involvement is going to be. They said Rashad Penny needs to take a step forward. I'm staying away from this backfield. I want nothing to do with it. And as bad as this offense looked last week, if you recall, Bradley, I had concerns heading into Sunday about Russell Wilson.
You did.
I had concerns about his finger, about his getting back into game shape, getting back into his accuracy, and that was on full display here last Sunday.
Oh, you mean those practice air games didn't do anything for him?
Yeah, no, not at all. He made Trevor Lawrence look like, Peyton Manning in like mid-season 50 touchdown form. Like Russell Wilson looked like shit last week. And I was concerned. I really was. It was something that we talked about on the podcast. And I think that some of those concerns are still there this week, but I think that they're going to work through them a little bit more this week. I think you could start Russell Wilson with more confidence, but stay away from the running back committee.
I don't even know about that right now. Arizona's playing very well on defense, and they have been all season. This is also, I anticipate a lower scoring game because Kyler is also coming off of an injury. We'll talk about him in a second, but yeah, Chris Carson with season-ending neck surgery. This seems to be, I wouldn't say precautionary, but forward-thinking. Like, he already has the neck injury. There's not really much to do with him in Dynasty either. Like, you have to hold him. I don't think he's worth anything, like trading for or trading away at this point.
Yeah, I only held him in one league, and it was a league that I was so desperate at running back that I just held on hope that he may return. But every other league, including all my high stakes leagues, he was cut. Like 2 weeks after, 2 weeks after he went to IR, a week after he went to IR, I cut him, and it was it was a tough cut. I mean, my draft partner Dave Hubbard cut him the week of, and I was like, man, I don't know, man. I just can't pull the trigger that early. But he brought up a good point. Neck injuries in the NFL, he just doesn't work out. Look at Jeff Wilson with the Giants a few years ago, and was just his career was cut short because of that neck injury, and we're seeing something similar here from Chris Carson. So neck injuries are never anything to be taken lightly in the NFL, and I wish Chris Carson the best, but I would be surprised, honestly, if he even played next year.
Yeah, the Seattle Seahawks seem to be a prime candidate for drafting a running back next year. The Packers will be out without their star running back Aaron Jones for the foreseeable future, at least the next few weeks. A.J. Dillon seems to be stepping in. We'll spoil it a little bit. How high is A.J. Dillon in your running back rankings? Top 10, top 5?
Let me pull him up here. 1 second. I didn't have him up yet.
That's okay.
A.J. Dillon does not. He cracks my top 10. Does not crack my top 5. I have him right now as running back number 8, but I have not finalized those rankings yet.
Okay. Yeah, so I think top 10 for Dillon going forward. Okay, Jeremy McNichols in the Tennessee backfield ruled out. That means your boy Donta Foreman. There's so many Freemans and Foremans. Deonte Foreman will probably be the lead back in this Tennessee offense. Billy, we'd have the hallelujah sounder going, but it's okay.
Just got the soundboard working.
So Foreman seems to be the back you want in this Tennessee backfield. It's still going to be a split. It's still going to be a split. I'm not all aboard on Foreman, but
I am.
I think he is the lead back there.
What do you mean you think? How can you? I mean, look at these last few weeks. Adrian Peterson's pedestrian 2.3 yards per carry is not going to be eating into Foreman's.
Foreman had 2.8 yards per carry last week.
He's averaging 3.7, so he's averaging more
for the season.
Yes, it's only 2 games each, so they're on the same pace here. Nonetheless, Foreman's used in the passing game, and with McNichols out, Foreman now will absorb all that passing game work. I think Foreman's in for a big week. I really do, especially against this. What are this? The Houstons, right? Texans? Is that what they're facing?
The Houstons.
The Houstons.
Yeah. So I think there's more upside with Foreman. I would agree with you, but I think it is still going to be Adrian Peterson pretty involved in this offense. Jermar Jefferson. We don't talk about Jermar Jefferson almost at all. It's probably the first time he's ever made the podcast here, Billy, but he is the third string running back for the Detroit Lions. And with Jamal Williams questionable right now, he's missed the last few games. It's been actually Godwin Igwebuike who's been running the third string, fourth string, former cornerback. But Jermar Jefferson had been getting some run with Jamal Williams out. This really doesn't impact, I don't think, DeAndre Swift or the Lions in really any significant way.
No, but Jermar Jefferson looked pretty darn good until that he got tackled in the end zone. That play rolled up his ankle, but he looked pretty darn good up until that point. It's good news that it wasn't more serious or significant, but I do think that I can't say the other kid's name. What's the other kid's name that came in? It's super long. The Akabui or whatever.
Godwin Igwebuike.
Thank you. I can't say that. Yeah. So he looked pretty damn good. There was a couple runs. And so, desperation play again. I would trust him over, some other names this week, especially like Tony Jones, who we mentioned earlier. Right. So I think that there's some desperation plays people are going to be facing this week. There's a lot of late injury news. There's a lot of things that happened between yesterday and today. So I'm kind of glad we recorded today. Honestly, there's been so much news that have come out today that gives us some more clarity that I think we're going to be able to give some better analysis heading into tomorrow.
All right, ruled out as well. Wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins for the Arizona Cardinals. Is Christian Kirk the one now with Hopkins ruled out?
Absolutely. He has been too. He's been performing well. Christian Kirk has been a plug and play RB2 easily for fantasy.
Wide receiver two.
Yeah. What'd I say?
He's not a running back.
Oh, yeah. I thought I said about you. Sorry. He's been a plug and play wide receiver too. He's had wide receiver one upside. With Hopkins sideline, Christian Kirk has stepped up in a big way, especially for where we got him in drafts.
Okay, where does Christian Kirk show up next year? Is he still on the Cardinals? He's a free agent at the end of the season.
Man, I think the way he's been playing, I think they have to re-sign him. I think that they're going to go give it their best shot, but I think that with his performance year to date, 2021, I think that it would be in their best interest to obtain him because DeAndre Hopkins isn't getting much younger. AJ Green isn't getting much younger. Yes, they have more, but I still think that Kirk has been a sound piece. It just hasn't been able to put it together up until this year. And here he is finally, putting it all together. And it's been because he's been the one. So I think that I think they should resign Kirk. We'll see what they do. I don't know what they stand on salary cap. I haven't looked into it that deeply, but I have to take a look at the salary cap and everything and analyze it.
It's probably going to be pretty expensive. They'd probably have to let AJ Green walk, and I don't know what Hopkins' contract is going to look like, but they may have to do some restructuring or something if they're going to want to re-sign Christian Kirk. Rondell Moore, I hope, can continue to improve, but he's looked a little shaky here and there. Amari Cooper tested positive for COVID and is out for this weekend and possibly next weekend. And how high does CeeDee Lamb climb? I mean, he's already been one of the best wide receivers this year for fantasy. So does this really tier jump CeeDee Lamb, or is he just staying the same and it's other ancillary pieces that are going to move up?
Yeah, for me, prior to the news, he was my wide receiver 7. I think he'll probably go to my wide receiver 5 or 4. I haven't finalized it again. It's supposed to be a shootout. We have KC in Dallas. KC has just been horrible. And so I think that, of course, you're going to see Gallup take a significant bump. I think you're also going to see Wilson take a bump. You're going to see Zeke take a bump. Everybody else just gets a bump because of the amount of targets that Amari Cooper was seeing and the fantasy points that he had. But I think overall, CeeDee Lamb, you can feel confident starting him as a top 5-6 play while Cooper's out.
All right, Marquis Brown ruled out this week with a hip injury. Yeah, are we finally going to see the Rashad Bateman breakout? He's been getting the targets. Sammy Watkins has not looked good. We assume that he'll play behind Mark Andrews, but is this going to be week 11, Rashad Bateman?
I think, Bateman's been sneaky good. I mean, he's averaged almost 12 fantasy points a week for the past 3 games he's been active. And I think that Bateman's going to take a step forward. The kid has good hands. He's just physical. I think Bateman was one of my favorite wide receivers in this class, honestly. I liked him more than Smith. I liked him, not as much as Chase. Chase was just unreal. But Bateman, when you could get him in the second round in rookie drafts, to me, it was a steal. I love Bateman, and he's one of my most on dynasty players. So I think that I think he's gonna perform this week.
All right, Antonio Brown also ruled out, but it seems like week 12 is much more likely. What does Antonio Brown's continued absence mean for the Buccaneers going into week 11?
I think they all get to learn where he got his COVID card because everybody probably wants one now. No, all jokes aside.
When I heard that news report, I was like, that's malarkey. Like, that's definitely something that 2019 Antonio Brown would have done. But I don't know anymore. Like, Tom Brady has really kept things close to kept it close. Like, if he can keep Antonio Brown on the field, he knows that he's got a championship, and there are things they're doing their due diligence. I didn't believe it initially. So
yeah, apparently when you look at, this team is just so stacked with talent, right? They just have talent left and right. And it helps when you have Brady, the greatest of all time, throwing the ball, because you have Godwin, you have Evans. You have, quite frankly, 3 solid tight ends on this roster, very capable running backs. So they're playing it safe, right? They just keep rolling them out. They're looking down the stretch. They're looking for these final weeks. They're looking for playoffs, and they want to make sure their team is healthy when it matters the most. And so they're just going to continue to play it safe with AB and rule him out and make sure he's 100% before they rule him out there. So I think it's a smart play for the team. It sucks for fantasy, don't get me wrong, but from the team, it makes a lot of sense in what they're doing in order to be successful for the playoffs.
Yeah, I have a lot of Antonio Brown, and banking on him being like a flex play, upside flex play all season has been a winning formula, except now he's out. So trying to find alternatives on these bye weeks and everything. So we'll move on to tight ends. For Washington, they have both Ricky Seals-Jones and Logan Thomas ruled out for this week. It looks like John Bates might be getting the start. He's a 4th-round rookie that Washington drafted this year. Bates not really with a high pedigree or high, exceptional athleticism, anything like that. But if you're taking an absolute minimum dart throw, I mean, we've seen what the Washington tight ends snaps have played and how targets 3 to 5 to 7 targets might go Bates' way this week. It just, if you want a really cheap option, he's worth a dart throw in extremely deep leagues.
Like 20-team desperation.
Or if you're playing like DFS.
I'm so glad I got this thing working in between all those talks.
Or if you're playing like DFS and you want a minimum tight end, like Bates is probably one of your considerations.
I could see a dart throw, like you're looking for GPP upside for
That's
Bates.
It. There's
nothing else.
Okay, move on to doubtful. Zach Wilson and Jared Goff, quarterbacks, are going to be expected to not play this week. Joe Flacco was announced as the starter for the Jets. How elite is Joe Flacco still?
No. No.
What does Joe Flacco mean for Elijah Moore and Jamison Crowder?
Nothing. It's going to be horrible. I mean, why are you playing Joe Flacco? Like, at least play Mike White. It was the Bills, for crying out loud. Of course, like, they're like the best defense in the NFL right now, and you're gonna hold this kid who's accountable versus the Bills, who just dominate on everybody pretty much, and you're gonna take away the starting job from him. Like, what are you gonna get from Joe Flacco? Nothing. At least give White a chance to see what you have, right? To see if it was just a fluke last week, and who knows, maybe he throws another 300-400 yards this week. But no, you want to roll out Joe Flacco. It makes no sense. The Jets are so dysfunctional every year.
Running back Elijah Mitchell is doubtful as well with the broken finger. The understanding, though, is that if his finger is functional, it's not a pain tolerance thing. It's if it is functional, Elijah Mitchell will give it a go. And Shanahan says that Mitchell deserves the right to play. And I agree. He's played very well. He's been a player I've been very high on in pre-draft process. And as he was drafted the 49ers, I was raising my eyebrows that they traded it up for Trey Sermon and then drafted Elijah Mitchell later. But he's played exceptionally well. If he does not go, how high is Jeff Wilson?
This is the one I've been battling in my head quite a bit lately, because I'm expecting Mitchell at this point to sit, although it's not finalized. Mitchell was my running back 14 on the week. I kind of been putting him between 12 and 14. So I think that if Wilson's active, if Mitchell's not active and Wilson's in, I don't think Trey Sermon's going to get Jack Diddley, honestly. Like, it's going to be that like 80% snap share for Wilson. I honestly think that we'll see Kyle Juszczyk rotate in more than we'll see Trey Sermon rotate in, just because he can block, he can pass catch. I mean, there's all sorts of reasonings why Juszczyk will be on the field over Trey Sermon.
He's trusted on the field,
not to mention they just hate Trey Sermon. Like, that's just a whole nother piece.
He's getting the Dante Pettis treatment.
Yeah, I honestly think, like, Wilson, for me, who was running back 41 prior to the news, will probably move up to running back 15 through 20. Like, I don't have it finalized yet, but somewhere in that range.
And they get Jacksonville in Jacksonville, and the Jags have played pretty well as of late. I mean, they gave up a lot in the first quarter to Jonathan Taylor, but they didn't give up anything to Carson Wentz. And after that first quarter, Jonathan Taylor only had like 20 total yards the rest of the game. So, I mean, the Jags have not been like the rollover defense that, that people have been plotting them as. So, yeah, I think that a 15 to 20 spot for Jeff Wilson if Mitchell is out is fine. But right now I have Wilson at like 35.
Yeah, the Jags are they're like middle of the pack, but people like just assume that they're like bottom of the barrel when it comes to defenses. But against running backs, they're actually giving up the 14th fewest fantasy points. So, they're not just chumps. I mean, they're not great, but they're better than the average bear. And, you're facing one of the league's best last week, JT. I mean, Bradley and I have this discussion going on. I think JT is better than CMC moving forward. Bradley likes CMC. That's a whole nother debate, but nonetheless, Jaguars are better than people think.
They are. We'll talk about Allen Robinson here, former Jaguar. He's doubtful. I believe it's a hamstring injury. He's been battling this, coming off of his best game this past week, week 10, which really isn't saying that much.
He's been a trash.
He's been really bad. Darnell Mooney has emerged as the top target share getter. Yeah, and so you can see bumps for Kmet. Jimmy Graham has gotten some love recently in the red zone, which is bizarre, but I mean, yeah. Like there was a sequence in the most recent game with the Bears where Fields threw 3 different times in the end zone to Jimmy Graham. It just didn't make any sense when you're trying to get development out of Colt Mccoy. Like, what are you doing, Matt Nagy?
I mean, we knew that. I mean, I thought Jimmy Graham was going to be more involved in red zones than he has been even. But Colt Kmet's definitely emerged, and I think we're going to continue to see more Colt Mccoy. Did you see in that 32-team league we're in, did you see who I added last night?
You added a few different players.
I added Jakeem. So I added one, like Jakeem Grant was the one I
added. Yeah, Jakeem Grant. That's right.
So I needed a wide receiver to plug and play this week. And 32-team league, that's how deep this is. There's no copies.
Former Miami punt returner, Jakeem Grant.
Yeah, so we're starting, wide receiver 64 in the start, and then you're flexing out a spot. So you're either starting, wide receiver 96 or running back 96 in that flex spot. Right.
Well, fun fact in that league, Jakeem Grant has had negative points twice.
Hey, let's go. Man, my team was so stacked, it's fallen apart these last few weeks. I'm lucky to have Miles Sanders back. I picked up that DB. I don't even know the kid's name, but he has running back eligibility.
Oh, Smith?
Yeah, so I was like, man, if he can get 2 tackles, I get 2 points. I'm solid. And so I was just happy.
Tremon Smith.
I was just happy he had running back eligibility because I was like, I could throw him in case Miles Sanders doesn't play, and then I can at least have 1 or 2 points for the position instead of negative points or 0 points.
Questionable this week, Kyler Murray, and he's coming off the injuries, game time decision.
I think he plays.
He's been medically cleared, so if he feels okay, he's a competitor. He's probably going to go out there.
Yeah, I think he plays this week. I mean, this is the first week we actually saw him return to practice pretty steadily. I think that they will play him this week. No Hopkins. They got kind of blown up last week. I think that they throw him in. And
they don't have Colt McCoy. McCoy suffered a ribs injury in last week's game, so I believe the last name is Streveler. Is the third string quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals. So Kyler Murray poised to make the start tomorrow. Taysom Hill is questionable.
His career is questionable.
Trevor Siemian.
He's been better than
has played well.
Pretty good. Yeah,
he's played well. Good. Remember
on
what I said
a couple weeks ago, Bradley? We're talking about Trevor Siemian. I said, you know what? He beat the Bucks. He almost beat the Bucks. He's been pretty steady. He's thrown a couple touchdowns. Siemian's been pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, this year he has a career high QB rating. His completion percentage is not great, but he has 5 touchdowns, no picks. And that's all you need in the Saints offense. You need someone who's not going to turn the ball over. And so Trevor Siemian's doing what he needs. He's doing his best Drew Brees impression, sans the completion percentage. So good on him. Lamar Jackson re-put on the injury list. So he was sick earlier in the week and wasn't practicing. Then he returned to practice later in the week. And now today he was placed indicated that he was sick and questionable going into the game. Trace McSorley. Throw it on a dime.
I literally took it off the list
No!
like 4 weeks ago.
No,
I was like,
no!
we're never gonna use this sound clip again ever in my life. I'm deleting it.
Trace McSorley was activated to the 53-man roster, so we will get some Trace McSorley in uniform this week. And I don't know if he'll make the field, but Lamar Jackson is sick, and this is a situation worth monitoring. Right now, Lamar Jackson he has to be like a consensus top 3 quarterback, right? And so that would be a significant downgrade for the likes of Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews. There's no way you can trust another quarterback, McSorley or anyone else.
I'm stalling, Bradley. Hold up.
It's okay. It's okay. The Baltimore Ravens get Chicago.
No, don't move on. Don't. No, I can't add it. I was trying to add the sound clip back in. Damn it.
No. It's all right, Billy. When you upload this on the podcast form, you can just put the audio in there. Anyways, so Lamar Jackson is questionable. Trace McSorley has a chance to put on a uniform tomorrow. For running backs, James Robinson of Jacksonville is questionable. He's been dealing with a multitude of injuries. He should be back, but this is a situation, once again, worth monitoring. Carlos Hyde has also been questionable here and there. James Robinson, if he's active, you got to put him into the lineup. As we mentioned earlier, Jacksonville gets San Francisco, and as much as San Francisco has had good defensive players, they've also not been a lockdown defense like they have in the past, or based on what our expectations were going into the season.
No, the secondary has been horrible. It's the front, and the front has been playing as stellar as we thought. The front's always masked the secondary problems, and it's been pretty pitiful, quite frankly.
So it's not a downgrade facing San Francisco if James Robinson is go.
No, I mean the front's better than the secondary, of course. But they've been giving up a lot of rushing yards, been giving up a lot on the ground. So I'm not like scared of the secondary, scared of the front on the running game. So start James Robinson, no problem.
Now, Josh Jacobs had Kansas City last week, and he did almost nothing on the ground. Barely in the teens for rushing yards, didn't get a touchdown. I think I have a little bit more confidence this week with Josh Jacobs' bounce back week. He faces Cincinnati in Vegas. I think this is a game that's pretty even. And in even games, or in games where Vegas has been in the lead, Josh Jacobs is much more effective. But when it's Kansas City and their high prolific offense, we saw how Kansas City just absolutely went off against the Raiders. So there was a game script affecting Josh Jacobs, and I don't know if there's a running back more affected by game script than Jacobs. So I expect a better output this week. I have Jacobs at 16 right now.
Man, Jacobs just so to trust. The Raiders in general are just falling apart. I have a hard time with any Raiders right now. I mean, even Darren Waller has just been underperforming this week. Jacobs right now I have as running back 20. I don't feel comfortable with that either, quite frankly. I feel like Cincinnati's going to get ahead, and I just don't think they're going to be able to run the ball either.
Okay, well, dual takes on Josh Jacobs. We'll see what the outcome is for Jacobs here. Saquon Barkley may make his return in week 11. He's questionable, but expected to play for Monday night. Devontae Booker for the Giants, also questionable. He's been playing as the starting running back in Saquon's spot while he's been out. Is Barkley a running back 1 this week?
It's hard to trust someone coming off injury like that, right? Especially when you're facing Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay on the ground is just legitimate.
Unless you're Khalil Herbert, right?
Yep, Khalil Herbert's the only one, but don't get me started. Chicago doesn't want to use him, but that's okay. Saquon Barkley right now is my running back 17.
Okay.
I think that adjusts though as we get closer to kickoff. If he's, we're gonna have to kind of guesstimate tomorrow morning when we finalize these rankings because they don't play till Monday. Yeah. I'm afraid to throw him too high because 1, it's Tampa Bay, but 2, we don't know what type of role he's going to have, right? Maybe he does split time, but it's tough to say going into tomorrow football. But I'm going to say as a safe bet, he's probably going to be like my running back 15th or 17th.
All right, let's talk about Miles Sanders here, your beloved Miles Sanders. We were talking earlier this week about if Miles Sanders gets the nod, but he was activated off of IR today, and it said like the anticipation is that he will get a significant amount of work. But what does that even mean with Jordan Howard elevated, Boston Scott still there, Kenneth Gainwell? I mean, it's the Eagles against New Orleans defense, who is like the second most difficult run defense against any running backs. So what kind of expectations do you have for Sanders going into week 11?
I don't have a lot of expectations. I don't trust Nick Sirianni to make the correct call. I mean, they didn't run the ball hardly ever when Sanders was active prior to the injury, and then he gets hurt, and Jordan Howard is somehow, a back-end running back 2 every week, and Boston Scott is now relevant, and it's just this whole system is just ass backwards right now. And I think that I think Sanders is by far the most talented running back on this team. Like, that's hands down without a question. But it breaks down to the coaching staff and what they're going to utilize, how are they going to utilize him, and what's this role going to be. And I think Jordan Howard has shown enough to be, at least inserted into the game script, whether it's in goal line packages or short yardage or whatever it may be. I still think Howard's going to be there. And Scott's been productive on third downs and passing downs. So, I mean, what do you know? You have a back that can do all of those in Miles Sanders, but no, they don't want to do that. So I think that you can start him. I mean, don't feel confident starting him. I'm going to say he's probably going to finish between like running back 28 and 36, if I had to guess, somewhere in that ballpark, and 28 being a generous side. I just think that I think he's going to be eased back in, quite frankly, because they have the other backs and they've won the last 2 of the 3 without him. So they have no real inclination or need to throw him in right away.
And it's probably not going to be a high-scoring game either, where they're trying to play catch-up. This is a game where it could very well turn into a Jordan Howard game where he gets 12 to 15 carries and Miles Sanders gets 8 to 10, and Boston Scott maybe plays, rotating in Kenneth Gainwell. But it's very within the range of outcomes that Jordan Howard is still the lead back here in week 11, given the game script. And I don't anticipate New Orleans being like this high-powered offense that the Philly's going to have to keep up with. If anything, it's Philly that has shown ceilings in scoring. So, I would temper expectations for Sanders as well. Another running back activated off of IR today, Clyde Edwards-Helaire for the Kansas City Chiefs. Yet another running back in a committee. We've seen Derek Gore get significant run. We've seen Darrell Williams be the lead back for most of this. He had 100 yards receiving last week. If only they used Clyde Edwards-Helaire like they've been using Darrell Williams from like over these few weeks, like then he would have been worth the first round pick a couple years ago, right?
Yeah, his body hasn't been able to handle it. I mean, you look at injuries and
he's a small back and he's not built to be a grinder.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's definitely the most talented back on the field. I joked around this offseason and trolled people with, Darrell Williams over CEH, and indeed pulled up, data out of my ass to support it. But it was pretty, it was 100% troll. And you look at it, but Darrell Williams has been productive in his absence. Like, no, all jokes aside, Darrell Williams has been productive, but it's because he's been getting more volume than CEH ever got. And I think that once he's back, I'm curious to see how the Chiefs utilize him. This week, I would not expect that type of volume if active, but I would, if they do ease him back into things, we were starting to see week 12, we start seeing more work. But I would say that if he is given the amount of work that Darrell Williams has been having, I think that you can expect CEH to start putting up some real fantasy numbers.
All right, Chris Godwin is questionable going into this game. We've already hit on the Bucks offense, but Sterling Shepard is questionable for the Giants. How important is today? He is ruled out, so he's out. Sterling Shepard, when he's been on the field for the Giants, has been the top target getter. Curtis Samuel is questionable for the Washington football team.
2021's been questionable.
Even if he comes back, there's no way he makes your lineup for even in DFS or even as a dart throw. There's no reason he should be in anyone's lineup.
No, I added him to Scott Fishbowl just because why not, right? You need to start wide receivers in that format, but it's purely just a gamble. Like I have no intent to start Curtis Samuel, but if shit hits the fan, who knows? But that he's just been so unreliable and so injury prone, and you cannot trust him.
All right, Billy. I think we're good with the injury report here. Let's move on to our rankings.
All right, we have our Week 11 rankings here.
Top 10 ranking segment. Billy and Bradley's top 10 ranked positional players.
Let's start off with quarterback this week, Bradley.
Okay.
Who's in your top 10?
Well, at quarterback for my top 10, I have number 1, Dak Prescott.
Oh, you do too. I thought I was being sneaky with that. Okay.
If he plays, Lamar Jackson, number 2 at Chicago. 3, Josh Allen versus Indy. That's in Buffalo. Mahomes at 4 against Dallas. So that Dallas-Kansas City matchup is pretty highly ranked for me. Tom Brady at 5 against the Giants on Monday night. Jalen Hurts 6th against New Orleans. I expect that this is a bad game for Hurts, but a good game for fantasy. Kyler Murray, if he plays, he's questionable. Expected to play though. At 7 against Seattle. 8, Justin Herbert. I think a bounce back game for Herbert here. Minkah Fitzpatrick and TJ Watt are both ruled out. And so I think Justin Herbert has a better game on Sunday night against Pittsburgh in LA. 9th is Ryan Tannehill against Houston. And 10 is Aaron Rodgers at Minnesota. I'm going to throw in Cam Newton, makes my top 12.
I like the Newton pick. I didn't hear Kyler Murray. Where do you have Kyler Murray ranked?
7.
Okay, you did say Kyler Murray. Okay.
Yeah.
Missed him. Our number 1 is the same, Bradley. Dak Prescott, number 1. I thought I was
great minds think alike, Billy.
Number 2, I have Patrick Mahomes. So I think it's going to be a shootout. I think we're going to have a high-scoring game.
Yeah, so both you and I see that game similarly. Yeah.
Yeah. Tom Brady, I have number 3.
I like it.
Josh Allen at 4.
Okay.
I have Lamar Jackson at 5 if he plays.
So we all have the same top 5, just mixed up. All right.
Yep. Jalen Hurts, I have at 6. Joe Burrow, I have at 7. I have Aaron Rodgers at 8. Kyler Murray at 9 if he plays. And then I have Justin Herbert at 10.
All right. Yeah, I like it. Okay. Yeah, where do you have Cam Newton?
Oh, let me go back to quarterbacks. I clicked running back.
It's okay.
Cam Newton. Cam Newton right now is at 12.
Okay. Yeah.
I have Tannehill. I have Tannehill at 11. I have Cam Newton at 12.
I'd start Burrow over Newton. I think you would too, but
I have Burrow in the top 7.
I don't think it's
Raiders are suck lately.
They have. I think we just need to continue to emphasize that I'm not believing the smoke that is PJ Walker might get some play. Like Cam Newton is just so good that I don't believe that PJ Walker gets any meaningful snaps.
I think it just breaks down to the offensive playbook and how much does the signal caller know, right? And
it's Cam Newton. All he needs to do is audible out of whatever he needs to and run the ball.
Yes, but at the same time, you can't just do that play in, play out, especially when you're facing Washington, who
is the worst defense against quarterbacks.
Secondary primarily is what it is. It's now Chase Young.
Trust DJ Moore, Terrace Marshall, Robbie Anderson, Christian McCaffrey. Cam Newton is poised to smash against Washington.
Well, and look at last week. What did I say? We were talking about Christian McCaffrey. What did I say, Bradley?
I don't know. What did you say?
Christian McCaffrey owners have to be nervous with Cam Newton returning because he's going to vulture goal line carries. And what happened last week?
Well, if anything, Christian McCaffrey may be vulturing Cam Newton as we move forward.
Did Cam Newton vulture a goal line carry?
He did.
He did. You know that.
And you know where Christian McCaffrey finished for running backs last week?
He's like 4 or 5, right?
He was 5th, and he didn't score a touchdown.
He was my 4th ranked running back, so I missed him.
That's why McCaffrey greater than Jonathan Taylor. He doesn't need to score touchdowns to be in the top 5.
Jonathan Taylor, just all he does is score touchdowns, so I guess he's always in the top 5.
Ooh, all right. I love it. Let's go to running back since we're on it. All right, Billy. Here we go. McCaffrey at 1 for me, Taylor at 2. Dalvin Cook for me is at 3 against Green Bay. I'm waiting for a Dalvin Cook explosion game, though. Like, it just hasn't happened this year. We've seen Dalvin Cook be very good and get involved, but we haven't seen, like, the ceiling of ceiling games from Cook this year.
He's only finished in the top 10 3 times. Week 1, week 6, week 10, 8, and never better than running back 7.
Yeah.
Remember, we were like, it's like 6 weeks ago, and I had him like in like running back 13, remember? And you were like, how do you have Dalvin Cook at 13? All of us drafted him as a top 2 running back. And I just said he hasn't produced as a top 2 running back. And then he got hurt that week, and I moved him up my rankings, unfortunately, to like number 10 or whatever it was. And he finished as like running back 40 that week. But
he got hurt, and they were managing his
but
and everything.
Nonetheless, he has not performed like a top 2 pick.
This is true.
So
number 4 for me, Najee Harris.
Sorry, go through your top 3 again.
You'll be happy with Najee Harris there. Number 5, I think Nick Chubb smashes against Detroit.
Can you
6,
go through 1 through 5 real quick since we sidetracked?
Yeah, McCaffrey, Taylor, Cook, Harris, Chubb.
Thank you.
Okay. Zeke at 6, Austin Eckler at 7 against Pittsburgh, Joe Mixon at 8, James Conner at 9, and A.J. Dillon at 10.
Okay, I like it. James Conner was pretty touchdown dependent last week.
Seattle is atrocious against the run. They've stepped up lately, but they've been really bad, and James Conner leads the NFL in touchdowns.
Okay, I like it overall. As high as I am on JT, I'm down on him this week. So it's
Buffalo.
It's Buffalo. That's what it is. 100%. That's what it is. I have Christian McCaffrey this week as running back 1.
That sounds good to me.
Simply because he's a cheat code, and in the passing game, Cam Newton's going to dump it off to him. I think that they're going to have a lot of design plays.
Does Cam Newton know how to do that from reading the playbook or from his time previously with Carolina? I don't know if Cam Newton has read that deeply into the playbook.
Looking at Christian McCaffrey's 2 best years, they were with Cam Newton. Yes, they're the only 2 years he ever played 16 games, but nonetheless.
He played 3 years with 16 games.
2. Check it out.
3.
Beer bet.
I'm
not going to look at it. Let's take. I'm going to pull it up right now.
Okay, do it. Christian McCaffrey has played 56 games, 3 straight years of 16, and then 2 or 3 games last year, and then 5 this year.
Man, Bradley's going to owe me like a keg when I get to Ohio next year.
All right, let's see. Let's see for our listeners.
I don't know off the top of my head, so I got to pull this up. So Christian McCaffrey game logs, Bradley. Okay. It doesn't count as a rookie when he didn't play the 16 games. He was active for 16 games, but only played in 10 of them, if that makes a difference.
What? No, that's not true.
It's the fine details, Bradley.
That's not true. Let me pull it up.
So he's only started 16 games.
Okay, he's only
started 2 16 gamers.
He didn't need to start. He played all 16, and he was a top 10 PPR back in 2017.
All right. I owe Bradley a beer. Now...
All right, keep going, Billy. Keep going.
Christian McCaffrey.
Owe me more beers. Here we go.
Najee Harris, I have it 2.
Okay. Ooh. All right.
Chargers are giving up the most yardage on the ground, running backs.
So you said McCaffrey at 1, Harris at 2.
Yep.
Interesting. I might have to move Harris up then.
I have Dalvin Cook at 3, even though he hasn't done anything to prove it. I have Jonathan Taylor at 4. Even though he's done everything to prove against it, but Buffalo's legit. I think push comes to shove tomorrow. I move JT to 3 and Dalvin Cook to 4. Quite frankly, just because Dalvin Cook has not been a top 3. Right?
Why not Nick Chubb in the top 3?
So I like Nick Chubb and I like it, but I just
think D'Ernest Johnson gets the
I think he gets some work, but
Okay.
when you take a look at it, like Nick Chubb's coming off COVID. I mean, Nick Chubb has been legit, and Detroit's been, really bad against the running back. But I think that the Browns just in general haven't been good. So I have been. Nick Chubb has been one of those players that I have been.
The Lions also are starting Tim Boyle.
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible that Nick Chubb just gets like 20 rushes because they get ahead. But I just like, Jonathan Taylor's, I just think has been just lights out. And then Dalvin Cook's matchup, I think, is just better. But Nick Chubb to me is one of those players that I've been contemplating moving to 4, moving Dalvin Cook to 5, JT to 3. Like these 3 right here for me, the top 2 have been locked, but 3 through 5 have been pretty interchangeable.
Chubb, Taylor, Cook. Okay. Yeah.
Chubb, Taylor, Cook, I think are going to be rotated between now and tomorrow morning once I look into the details. So I am not finalized, but just know that all these guys are within the top 5 for me. Next on my list I have is Zeke at 6, KC. Yep. Again, with Amari Cooper out, I think Zeke sees an uptick in his passing game. I then have Joe Mixon at 7.
Okay.
Against Las Vegas. Austin Eckler at 8 against Pittsburgh. I have AJ Dillon at 9 and DeAndre Swift at 10.
Said AJ Dillon at 9 and Dillon at 10. Okay. Yeah.
AJ Dillon at 9, Swift at 10.
AJ Dillon at 9, Swift at 10. I have Swift at 11, so we're right
Close.
there. Where's Connor? Because I had him at 9. Where do you have him?
Connor I have right now at 11.
Okay. Yeah, so it's all interchange. Real close.
Yeah.
Let's move to wide receivers here. All right. I have not done a lot of movement, so I may be making changes mid-show, but I have Devontae Adams at 1 against Minnesota. 2 is Tyreek Hill against Dallas. Stephon Diggs at 3 against Indy. A.J. Brown at 4 against Houston. 5 is CeeDee Lamb. 6, you know what? I originally had Mike Evans there. I do not want Mike Evans in my top 6. Justin Jefferson at 6. Jamar Chase at 7. Deebo Samuel at 8. Chris Godwin at 9. Keenan Allen at 10.
Godwin was where?
9.
Okay, that's right. I have Godwin too. You had Evans where again? You said
I moved Evans out of my top 6. He's now 14 for me.
Okay. So I have Devontae Adams at 1, Tyreek Hill 2. Those are pretty smash.
Chalky.
Matchups.
Yeah.
Very chalky. AJ Brown at 3 versus Houston.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, I'm gonna move it live. CeeDee Lamb at 3 against KC.
Ooh, let's go.
AJ Brown at 4 versus Houston. Deebo at 5 versus Jacksonville. Jamar Chase at 6 versus Las Vegas. Justin Jefferson at 7 versus Green Bay.
I like that call, actually. I'm going to move Chase above Jefferson there.
Yeah, Vegas just been bad.
Plus, I'm the Chase stan, so.
Yeah, you might as well be number 1 every week.
Let's go.
Just put him at number 1 every week and lock it.
Why not? I probably will next year.
Just every week, Chase 1. My rankings start at 2.
Outside of Cincinnati, no one's better.
Stephon Diggs at 8.
Okay.
He's been last week was good, but I mean it's been pretty inconsistent. Chris Godwin at 9, DK Metcalf at 10.
I don't have, we've been saying fade Russ. He's not looked good. I have Metcalf at 15, Lockett at 16 right now.
Yeah, so last week was bad. I mean, DK was wide receiver 56. Let me go to half PPR, 54 and half PPR. But prior to that, week 9 or week 8, week 9 is a bye. Week 8, he was wide receiver 9. Week 7, wide receiver 10. Then he was 36.
Those were the Geno, right?
Yeah, but then he had a 36 and 8 too. So, I mean, 3 of the last 5 weeks, he's been a top 10 wide receiver. Arizona is tough on the front, but the secondary is vulnerable at times. I do expect Arizona to put up some points, and I think that if we have both quarterbacks, if we have Murray active, I think that this could become a shootout. So I think that DK Metcalf, may be a surprise top 10. That's why I have him there.
Okay. If Lamar Jackson plays, how high is Rashad Bateman?
Let me find Bateman here. 1 second. Bateman was 31 prior to the Marquis Brown news. I was higher on him last week too. I was actually 6 spots higher than consensus last week on Rashad Bateman. For me, without Bateman, he's probably wide receiver 19, 20.
Yeah, I have him at 19.
Okay.
Perfect. All right, we see him the same way. Let's move to tight end now. And this is where we're going to get a little spicy near the back end. Travis Kelce at 1. We want part of this game, and we saw Kelce have a bounce-back game last week. George Kittle at 2 against Jacksonville. Mark Andrews at 3 at Chicago. I might move Andrews to 2, but at 2 and 3, those aren't going to change. Gesicki at 4. Hawkinson at 5, Waller at 6. I had Hunter Henry at 7. That did not pan out well, but I did not have Kyle Pitts in my top 12. Dalton Schultz, I moved up to 8 in light of the Amari Cooper COVID news. Dan Arnold at 9, Tyler Conklin at 10.
Where did you have Henry again?
I had him at 7.
Yeah, I had him at 7 too. I unfortunately had Pitts at 5.
Yeah, I had Pitts at 14.
Oh, that's a good call. Yeah, New England's tough. I just thought that with everybody out, they'd utilize them more. They didn't. Yeah, so far my top 7 are not looking solid. I had Pitts at 4. I had Hawkinson at, Hunter Henry at 7. Kelsey's 1 and 2 like you. I mean, Jacksonville has given up top 10 most points to the tight end position, and Kittle's been a beast lately. Darren Waller, I have at 3. I have, and I'm thinking about moving Mark Andrews to. Actually, I'm going to do it right now. Mark Andrews is now 3 because we have Marquis Brown out.
Yeah, that's where I have him.
Darren Waller will be 5. Hawkinson will be 6. Gesicki will be. Sorry, Dan Arnold will be 8.
Okay, I like it.
And Dan Arnold has been sneaky good.
He's been 15-20% target share pretty much since O'Shag Hennessy has been gone. Although O'Shaughnessy is his IR window has been open now. So
it doesn't matter. Since the bye week, so week 7 was their bye. We have seen Dan Arnold with 10 targets, 7 targets, 8 targets. He's had 60 yards plus in all 3 matchups. He's finished as tight end 5, 14, and 6 for each of those weeks retrospectively. So, I mean, Dan Arnold has just been solid. It was one of my biggest pickups of the year for FFPC. Hubbard was huge on him, more so than I was, so I have to attribute that to Hubbard. But I think that Dan Arnold has, if you look at the yardage over the previous 3 weeks, I think there's only like him, Travis Kelce, and there's one other tight end that have the same amount of yardage. Are all within the top 3.
O'Shaughnessy, though, before his injury, he played 1 full game against Houston. He had 8 targets, 6 receptions, 48 yards. He went out week 2 against Denver, only played a couple snaps, but he had a target for 24 yards. So play your Dan Arnolds now before O'Shaughnessy starts nibbling into that.
No, Dan Arnold's the truth, buddy. O'Shaughnessy's got nothing on this.
All right, and who's your 10? Who's your 9 and 10?
9 Gesicki, 10 Dalton Schultz, and then 11 Freiermuth.
Freiermuth is 13 for me.
Okay,
awesome. Well, those are our top 10 per position.
Yeah, that's and that wraps the show, folks. So if you missed it, make sure to go back through. We did some injury news analysis. We covered our top 10 rankings for quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. These will be finalized tomorrow morning, so these are not final as of right now, but a pretty good gauge if you have some start-sit questions inside those top 10s or you're playing DFS. As always, feel free to shoot Bradley and I a message on Twitter for any start-sit questions, and we appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you all back here on Tuesday. And good luck in your Week 11 matchups. We're nearing the end of the fantasy regular season for high stakes. we're almost in the playoffs here in a couple weeks for FFPC. So good luck in those matchups. Good luck on those final pushes. And we will see you all back here on Tuesday night.